There's something about thunderstorms that makes everything feel smaller. The house feels smaller, your room feels smaller, even your thoughts feel smaller. When the sky turns that dark shade of gray, when the wind starts pushing against the windows, when the first crack of thunder rolls across the distance, you realize how powerless you really are. These are three scary true thunderstorm horror stories. The first story happened in late August, just outside Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was one of those days where the forecast warned about severe weather, but nobody really took it seriously. The air was thick and humid, the sky that strange greenish color people post about online when something bad is coming. Ryan had just moved into a rental house on the edge of town. It wasn't isolated, but it wasn't exactly in a neighborhood either. There were trees behind the house, a long gravel driveway, and one neighbor about half a mile down the road. By 7:30 p.m., the storm hit. The rain didn't start gently. It slammed against the roof like handfuls of gravel. The wind rattled the siding. Lightning flashed so bright it turned the living room white for a split second at a time. Ryan lost power around 8. He lit a couple of candles and sat on the couch, scrolling through it in his phone. The signal was weak, barely loading anything. Thunder shook the windows every few minutes. That's when he heard the first knock. It was faint, almost swallowed by the wind. He froze, thinking it might have been something hitting the house. A branch, maybe. Then it happened again. 3 slow knocks. Not loud, not frantic, just deliberate. Ryan muted his phone and listened. The storm howled outside. Rain hammered down. And then, 3 more knocks. They were coming from the front door. He felt his stomach drop. Who would be out there in this? He stood up slowly and walked toward the door. With every lightning flash, the frosted glass panel beside it lit up, but he couldn't see a clear silhouette. Another crack of thunder shook the house. Then a voice came through the door. "Please, let me in." It was a woman's voice, weak, strained, almost lost in the wind. Ryan hesitated. He didn't recognize it, and he hadn't met any women nearby yet. "Hello?" he called out, keeping distance from the door. No answer. Then again, softer this time. "Please, it's not safe." Lightning flashed, and for a split second, he saw a shape through the glass. Too tall to be crouched, standing too close. The next thing he noticed made his blood run cold. There was no shadow moving in the lightning. The voice was there, the knocking was there. But in the bright white flash, the glass showed nothing directly in front of it. He stepped back immediately. Another knock. Harder this time. Then the doorknob slowly turned. It rattled once, twice. Ryan had locked it earlier. He was sure of that. The voice stopped sounding weak. It changed. It flattened. "Let me in." Not a plea, a command. His heart was pounding so loud he could barely hear the thunder anymore. He grabbed his phone and dialed 911, whispering what was happening. While he was on the line, the knocking turned into pounding. Heavy, aggressive blows against the door that made the frame shudder. Lightning flashed again. Still no visible person. Then suddenly, silence, no knocking, no voice, just the storm. Police arrived 15 minutes later. They searched the property with flashlights in the rain. No footprints near the door, no tire tracks in the driveway. The gravel was undisturbed. The only thing they found was something Ryan hadn't noticed before. Long, thin scratch marks along the outside of the door, about 6 feet high, as if something very tall had dragged its fingers down the wood. The second story happened during a camping trip in northern Pennsylvania. 3 college friends, Mason, Tyler, and Josh, decided to do a weekend hike in early September. The forecast predicted light rain Saturday night. Nothing major. They were wrong. By midnight, the storm had turned violent. The tent shook with every gust of wind. Rain pooled underneath them. Thunder exploded overhead so loud it felt like the sky was cracking open. Around 1:20 a.m., I woke up to something that wasn't thunder. Footsteps, crunching in the wet leaves outside the tent. He assumed it was an animal at first. Deer were common in the area, but the steps were slow, measured, and they circled the tent. He nudged Tyler awake. "Do you hear that?" They both held their breath. Another flash of lightning lit up the thin fabric walls of the tent. And in that flash, they saw it. A shadow, tall and narrow, standing inches from the tent wall. It wasn't moving like an animal. It wasn't hunched or shifting. It was upright, perfectly still. Then it dragged something along the side of the tent, a long scraping sound. Tyler whispered, "That's not a deer." The shadow moved again with the next lightning strike. This time it bent slightly at the top, as if leaning closer. Josh was awake now too. All three of them were frozen. The footsteps resumed, circling again. Slow, deliberate. Crunch, step, crunch. Then it stopped near the tent entrance. The zipper handle slowly lifted. Not fully open. Just lifted and dropped. Once, twice. The storm masked most small noises, but that metallic zipper sound cut through everything. Mason grabbed a flashlight and shouted, "Hey!" He turned it on and aimed it toward the tent wall. Nothing. No shadow, no footsteps. They waited for nearly an hour, too afraid to unzip the tent and look. When morning finally came and the storm passed, they stepped outside. The ground was soaked, mud everywhere. But there were no animal tracks, no boot prints, no signs that anyone or anything had walked around them. Except for one thing. On the tent fabric, about shoulder height, were 3 long tears. Not rips from wind, clean, vertical slashes. The third story is the one that unsettles me the most. It happened to a woman named Carla during a blackout in Florida. A tropical thunderstorm rolled in unexpectedly one evening while she was home alone with her 8-year-old son. The power went out around 9 p.m. The wind was screaming outside. Tree branches scraped against the house. Rain hit so hard it sounded like constant applause. Carla lit candles in the kitchen and tried to calm her son, who was already scared of storms. About 20 minutes into the blackout, her son asked a question that made her stomach twist. "Why is that man standing in the backyard?" Carla felt her chest tighten. She slowly walked toward the sliding glass door that led to the backyard patio. Lightning flashed, and there, at the edge of the yard near the fence, was a figure. Tall, completely still, facing the house. Another flash of lightning confirmed it. Someone was standing in their backyard during a thunderstorm. Carla grabbed her phone to call police, but the service was out. The figure didn't move, didn't run, didn't shield its face from the rain. It just stood there, watching. Then, during the next lightning flash, it was closer. Not by a step or two, by several yards. No visible movement between flashes, just suddenly nearer. Carla locked eyes with it during one bright burst of lightning. She couldn't make out features, but she could tell one thing. It wasn't blinking. Her son started crying. The next flash, it was right outside the sliding door. So close that she could see the outline of fingers pressed against the glass. Then the thunder boomed louder than anything before. The lights flickered back on, and the backyard was empty. Police searched the yard later that night. The grass was flattened from heavy rain, but there were no footprints leading toward the house. Only one strange detail remained. 5 muddy handprints on the outside of the glass, all at least a foot higher than Carla could comfortably reach. Thunderstorms have a way of isolating you. They drown out screams. They mask footsteps. They make it impossible to hear what's just outside your door. And sometimes, when the lightning flashes, you see things you wish you hadn't. If you've ever experienced something strange during a storm, you're not alone. Because sometimes the scariest part of a thunderstorm isn't the thunder.